You think silence will make her miss you. So you disappear, clenching your jaw, refusing to text, refusing to call, not saying a word. And while you writhe in that void, she seems perfectly fine, maybe even glowing. She posts pictures, smiling with friends, laughing like you never existed. And you, in the middle of the night, ask yourself, do I still have any value in her eyes? That's the truth most men won't face. You're silent, but you're the one bleeding. And the more you suppress, the more you see her shining without you, the more your silence feels like a bad joke. Because deep inside, you're still waiting. Still hoping she'll come back. Still begging with your eyes, even if your mouth says nothing. Does it sting? It should. Because that's the reflection staring back at you in the mirror. Face it, if your silence is just a desperate leash, it will never make her miss you. It only makes you smaller in your own eyes. And this is the moment you must learn a different kind of silence. Not disappearing for pity, not faking coldness, hoping she breaks. But silence in the spirit of a disciplined man, self-controlled, forward-moving. A silence that doesn't need to be seen, yet still carries weight. Comments stand tall, and move forward to remind yourself never again to use silence as begging. If this hits you like it, share it with a brother and subscribe to Victory Stoic so you don't miss what will change how you see yourself. Watch till the end. I'll show you why most men's silence is just a mask. And why, if you don't understand this, you'll exile yourself into endless waiting. Let's start with the first truth. Silence is not a weapon if you're still clinging inside. 1. Silence is meaningless if inside you're still weak. Here's the breaking news: you declare silence, but in reality you're silently active. By day you look stone cold, by night you turn into an amateur detective. You don't text, don't call, but you're online like clockwork. You refresh her stories. You leave the scene shining under the last message. You think that's discreet. But to women, it's a flashing neon sign. He's still here. He's still watching. He's still hoping I react. Women pick up on this fast. Why? Because their brains are wired for empathic accuracy, the ability to read emotions through micro signals, response speed online, frequency, eye movement, tone of voice. Research from the University of Cambridge shows women on average outperform men significantly at detecting these tiny social cues. In plain words, you don't need to say a thing, they still feel it. Example, you view her story the second it's posted. To men, that's accidental. To women, it's proof you're waiting. You don't like her post, but you never miss one. To men, that's quiet observation. To women, that's he can't let go. Every scene, every online trace is your breath left behind, and women smell it instantly. Picture it like this: you're playing pretend indifference. But you leave your shoes at the door, your light on your breath, slipping under the crack. You don't say a word, but everyone inside knows you're standing there. That's why your silence carries no weight. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But in this silence game, it's not just you suffering from imagination. She uses the very signals you leaked to conclude he's not going anywhere. And once she concludes that, you lose even more value. Your silence is no longer mystery, it's exposed theater. 2. She isn't silent like you because women have more emotional outlets. After a breakup, you choose silence. No words, no texts, no venting to anyone. You lock yourself in your room, swallowing a mountain of emotions. The result, you feel weaker, more broken, while she's out there laughing, posting pictures, looking radiant. And you start thinking, did she move on faster? Did she love me less? Wrong. It's just natural difference. Women have more outlets. They have best friends to unload everything. They have social media to spill into captions and stories. They have hugs, long phone calls, even someone new ready to listen. They release outward, so to you it looks like they recover faster. Meanwhile, men choose silence not from strength, but from conditioning not to share. You don't talk, don't vent, don't release. So the emotions fold inward, making you feel 10 times the pain. Psychology explains this clearly. Studies show women deal with stress through social connection. They seek friends, community conversation. Men deal with stress by withdrawing and enduring. One side lets it out, the other side swallows it. That's why on the surface women bounce back quicker. But that doesn't mean she loved you less or forgot you faster. The truth, when night comes, when all outlets close, she lies alone with the same void. Longing doesn't discriminate male or female. The only difference is you suffer in silence, she discharges by day. That's it. Don't fool yourself into thinking you loved more and she loved shallow. It's just two different mechanisms. 3. She doesn't fear losing you because you taught her you'll never leave. Human belief updates by repeated behavior. Every time you were hurt, then came back, then every time you begged for another chance, every time you stayed after being disrespected, she logged a line of data, the probability you'll truly leave, 0. When risk of losing you is 0, her incentive to adjust is also 0. No one fears losing what they believe can't be lost. Economics calls it the scarcity effect. The harder to lose, the more valuable. Psychology calls it reinforcement behavior that keeps being rewarded, keeps repeating. In relationships, the reward is your return. Every time you come back after damage, you teach her your boundaries are fake. Next time she won't try as hard because the door back is always open. To create risk, two conditions must exist: real boundaries and real ability to walk. Real boundaries mean you don't renegotiate what already broke you. You don't respond to bait. You don't explain endlessly. Real ability to walk means you've pivoted energy, shifted into discipline, work your own values. At that point, silence isn't a tactic, it's a consequence. You don't disappear to make her notice. You're busy living. And that very busyness creates the only silence with weight. Example: a man who always returned after fights, begging, promising, enduring. She learned that script, so she wasn't afraid. This time he posts, no hints, checks, no stories, sends no final talk. Instead, he changes his training schedule, his work rhythm, his circle of friends. He pushes his body and career to a new level. 3 months later, by chance, they meet. He's polite, brief, no dangling hope. She doesn't see the familiar door anymore, and for the first time, risk is real. Not because he acted, but because he truly could leave. You see it now. Silence only works if paired with the power to end. History builds belief. Belief drives her behavior. If you want her behavior to change, don't demand, don't plead, rewrite your history. Repeat long enough a new pattern, no reaction, no bargaining, no crawling back at the cost of your self-respect. Her belief will update. And by then, you won't need her to fear losing you, because you'll already be strong enough not to need. 4. Silence only carries weight when it comes from real change. Women aren't stupid. They see fake silence the same way they see a child playing peekaboo. I'm not texting you anymore, but I'm still here waiting for you to find me. Trust me, they notice. They smell the regret they hear your heartbeat in every time you log in, and they know for sure you're just pretending to be strong. You haven't changed at all. And the brutal truth is this: that kind of silence doesn't make them miss you. It only makes them double down. I was right to leave. But everything flips when you turn silence into a step back for a stronger leap forward. Picture this: months go by without seeing you. She runs into you by chance. No more hunched back guy sitting waiting for a text. Instead, you show up with broader shoulders, sun-tanned skin, a calm smile. No cryptic posts anymore, just a photo of you running a marathon or reading a book. No shouting words, no needy captions. Just a version of a man. Completely different. And in that instant, a silent slap lands in her mind. the slap of envy. Because now you look better than you ever did with her. The slap of regret. Because she realizes you no longer belong to the story she left behind. And women who live and breathe in emotion hate this kind of script. They want to believe they chose right. But when faced with your new version, more successful, more disciplined, more composed, that belief cracks. And every crack itches at her heart. A friend of mine in New York once told me after his breakup, he went silent. But not to wait. He buried himself in the gym new skills work. 6 months later at a reunion, he saw his ex. She stared at him from across the room, silent for a while, then finally said, "You look different." Just a short sentence, but in her eyes was a cocktail of admiration, discomfort, and regret. Because the man she left wasn't the man in front of her anymore. And in that moment, he didn't need to say a word. His silence spoke. That's the difference. The silence of the weak is avoidance. The silence of a man reborn is a declaration. A warrior doesn't stand still waiting for the enemy to fear. He forges forward, sharpens his sword lives by his code. His silence isn't an empty void for others to mock. It's the space where he becomes formidable. And when he returns, the enemy understands instantly the rules have changed. Stoic philosophy teaches, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. You don't need to say, "I'm fine now." You just let her see with her own eyes that you are no longer the man you once were. That's a psychological blow stronger than any words. And it hits the nerve women hate most at the realization that they've lost something truly valuable. At this point, silence is no longer a flimsy wall. It's a mirror. Every time she looks into it, she sees a man who's moved on and herself standing behind, filled with regret. 5. True silence is when you no longer need her presence. This is the sharp line between a psychological game and genuine growth. If your silence is just a mask covering hidden expectations, it means nothing. But when your mind has already moved on, when your focus has shifted into discipline, into your career, into your own becoming, silence is no longer a tactic. It is a natural byproduct. It requires no calculation, no effort. You are silent because you have nothing left to say. And that calmness is what gives silence its true weight. Picture an abandoned house. Silent, yes, but it's a silence of decay, emptiness, and absence. Now picture a temple. It too is silent, but that silence is alive, charged with power, filled with spirit. People step inside, and the silence makes them feel small. The difference is not in the lack of sound, but in what lies within. One is hollow, the other full of meaning. Men's silence works the same way. If inside you is emptiness, your silence is just abandonment. But if inside you is discipline, training, and principle, then your silence becomes a temple, something people feel without a word being spoken. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Don't stay silent to prove something to her. Don't try to turn your absence into a message. If you are truly living with strength, your silence will echo on its own. And it echoes in the deepest place in the awareness of others, even when they don't want to admit it. Now, many men will ask themselves, but what if I still can't ignore her? What if I still hope she comes back, still want to improve, so she'll notice? Does that mean I'm hopeless? The answer is no, you're not hopeless. But you are still addicted. Addicted to her gaze, addicted to validation, addicted to the feeling of being needed. And like any addiction, the only way out is not some magical cure, it's discipline to cut the source. If you go to the gym only so she'll notice, you're still trapped. If you work hard only to prove something, you're still not free. Only when you train for your own health, build for your own mission, do you begin to enter the state of true silence. True silence is not directed outward, it's born from within. It is the sign that you've shifted your gaze away from her and placed it firmly on your own path. And when that happens, you don't need to act like you don't need her. You genuinely don't. And that is what shakes her. Because women don't fear disappearance. They fear replacement. And a man who builds himself doesn't just disappear, he becomes someone entirely different. Silence is not a magic trick to pull someone back. It is only a mirror reflecting where you truly stand. If you stay silent while still writhing inside, that mirror shows a weak face. But if you stay silent because you've shifted your gaze away from her and placed it on yourself, that mirror reflects a man rising. You have two choices. One, keep practicing silence as clenched teeth, waiting, letting each day drain you dry. Two, embrace true silence. The silence of discipline, of change, of a man who no longer needs recognition in order to move forward. One is self-destruction. The other is self-mastery. There is no third path. Remember, she will not miss you just because you vanished. She will only miss you when you are no longer the man she once left behind. And by then, her missing you no longer matters, because you will already be strong enough not to need it. Comment the command, stand tall, and move on to carve it into yourself. You don't need anyone to see you to keep going. If this video speaks to where you are right now, share it with another man who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to Victory Stoic, where every silence becomes a voice.